You sure? Welcome everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome my friend Pedro Sánchez to Sweden, and I'm even more pleased to welcome you as the Prime Minister of Spain. Sweden's support for the European Union is very strong. The EU is so important to us. It is about our trade, the long-term growth, our security. And we are constantly working on strengthening our cooperation and relations with our closest friends in the European Union, and I'm very proud that Spain is one of them. Spain and Sweden enjoys excellent bilateral relations, which we have further strengthened today. We have discussed a range of EU issues today, and obviously internal security in EU will be the focus on the EU summit in Salzburg later this month. We have discussed and agreed on the fact that a hard Brexit would not benefit anyone. We have also discussed the possibility of working together and sharing ideas when it comes to the future negotiations on the EU budget. Most important of all this, Prime Minister Sánchez and I belong to the same political family. We share dreams, democratic ideals, and the determination to defend core values in the European Union at a time when these core values are challenged. And I'm very proud to have you as an ally, Pedro, and in the work that lies ahead of us for the prosperity of both Sweden, Spain, and the European Union. Please.
Thanks very much, Prime Minister. Thanks very much, the press. Good afternoon. We're very honored to be here with Stefan today. I think that since I met him, he was at that time Prime Minister, I was the leader of the opposition. I always have seen in Stefan a source of inspiration for our political family, but also for the European Union. We share many core values, but also we share many political goals. I always admired how Stefan led the political debate at the European level on social cohesion, which is something very important also for the Spaniards and for the Spanish government. So this social pillar that he led in the Gothenburg summit last year was very important for the socialist family at the European level, but also for the Spanish government. We're speaking about not only conciliation, but also about labor standards and a fight against labor exploitation. So in a way, the Swedish government with Stefan as Prime Minister has been a source of inspiration for many European governments, especially for the Spanish government, for the new Spanish government. And as Prime Minister said, we touched in our conversation, in our meeting, the Brexit issue, and we agreed that this hard Brexit would be very negative, not only for the UK interest, but also for the European Union interest. We touch also the EU budget. I think that we can share common goals. And finally, I would say that we touch some of the issues that are for the present and for the future of the European Union. Climate change, gender equality, and of course social cohesion. So for me, it is an honor to be here with my colleague, with my comrade, with Prime Minister Stefan Löfven, and of course I'm looking forward to collaborating with him during the next years. So very pleased, I'm very honored to be here with you.
Thank you, Pedro, for being here. Okay?
Can you first question for Spanish media.
Yes, hello, Prime Minister Löfven, President Sánchez. Next Sunday, Sweden will go to the ballot boxes, to the election. And right now, a rise of the extreme right political party seems to be quite likely. What do you think the consequences will be for Europe if Sweden falls on the group of xenophobic European countries? And what do you think that Europe has, what's been the mistake made by Europe so that we find ourselves in this scenario, even here in Sweden? And en clave nacional, si me permite, señor Sánchez, en las últimas horas, Quim Torra ha rechazado el autogobierno, solo acepta la autodeterminación. ¿Cómo encaja su oferta de diálogo en ese escenario? También ha dicho en repetidas ocasiones ya que rechazaría una sentencia que no fuese, que fuese diferente a la absolución de los líderes independentistas encarcelados. ¿Ve usted ahí una amenaza de que Quim Torra finalmente abriría las cárceles, liberaría a los líderes independentistas hoy en prisión? Gracias. Thank you.
Few hours, Quim Torras has stated that he will not accept auto-governance, he will only accept the self-governance. And how does that affect your offer to maintain dialogue with them? And then Torra has also said he will not accept any ruling from the Supreme Court except liberation of the politicians, the Catalan politicians imprisoned. Do you consider this as a threat that he might open the penitentiaries?
I would answer to that question in Spain.
Yes, of course. Well, starting with the issue of the extremists and the populists, as you said, well, in Sweden, that depends on how the other political parties handle this. Because for me, it's very clear that there will be no cooperation. We will never in any way become dependent on that party. And that is one party out of 8 parties in the parliament. So it's up to the 7 other parties to make sure that we never put ourselves in a situation that we become dependent on that party. In that scenario, we can, of course, continue to build the society that we want, without xenophobia, and standing up for every individual's equal value, because that is the Swedish model, that is the Swedish society. So that is up to all the other parties, and I'm very clear on that. Unfortunately, we have 4 right-wing parties that are not so clear. We have 2 of them willing to cooperate and becoming dependent on them, and 2 of them being very unclear. They say on the one hand that they do not want to become dependent, on the other hand they say they can support a government that actually is dependent, will in reality become dependent if these 4 parties form a government being smaller than the other parties. Now, at the European level, as the Prime Minister just said, we had been pushing for a social Europe is the most important now, because too many workers do not regard European Union as a safeguard for social cohesion, but rather the opposite, and that the market powers have been dominating for too long and not taking into account that people need social security. And that is why we have been advocating that the European Union in itself need to also make sure that this is a common labor market that is based on social security. The individual countries need to take responsibility for our own social security system, but at the European Union level we need to have a regulation that do not put workers against workers. That is the crucial thing, and that is what we try to achieve now with the social pillar. So let's work on that, showing people that yes, you have a future in a future project. Do not rely on these extremists, because that's not the answer.
Bueno, respecto a la cuestión que ha planteado el colega de la prensa española, decir que bueno, yo lógicamente como presidente del gobierno seguí atentamente la exposición que hizo ayer el presidente de la Generalitat, el señor Torra, y las 2 cuestiones que me gustaría compartir con la opinión pública catalana y con la opinión pública española es que el gobierno de España se toma muy en serio el diálogo y la negociación con el Govern de la Generalitat. Y que nosotros estamos dispuestos a abrir ese espacio, lo estamos abriendo ya, de hecho, con la financiación, con las cuestiones que tienen que ver con las leyes sociales que fueron recurridas ante el Tribunal Constitucional, con las infraestructuras que están pendientes de desarrollar en Cataluña. Nos estamos tomando muy en serio el diálogo y la negociación con el Govern de la Generalitat, porque esa es nuestra obligación, porque entendemos que la política lo que tiene que hacer no es enquistar los problemas. Llevamos más de una década con la cuestión catalana, hablando y centrando en buena medida todo el debate de la política nacional. Lo que queremos es resolver esos problemas. ¿Qué es lo que le diría? Al igual que el gobierno de España se toma en serio su obligación de dialogar con el Govern de la Generalitat, lo que tiene que hacer el Govern de la Generalitat es abrir un gran debate, una gran conversación entre los no nacionalistas y los nacionalistas en Cataluña. Porque esta es la cuestión. La oferta que está haciendo el presidente Torra puede satisfacer a una mitad de catalanes, pero a la otra mitad de catalanes no le satisface, no es su propuesta. Por tanto, la propuesta que hace el gobierno de España, ¿cuál es? ¿Cuál es el elemento aglutinador del conjunto de la sociedad catalana? De los no nacionalistas y de los nacionalistas. El autogobierno. La Constitución y el autogobierno expresado en su Estatuto de Autonomía. Con lo cual creo que desde luego nosotros tenemos una clara vocación de resolver desde la política esta crisis política y apelamos a que en este caso el presidente de la Generalitat inicie esa gran conversación entre nacionalistas y no nacionalistas en el seno del Parlamento de Cataluña, que desgraciadamente permanece en el mes de septiembre cerrado. Esto es lo que yo me gustaría trasladarle al conjunto de la opinión pública catalana y al conjunto de la opinión pública española. Y finalmente, respecto a la cuestión de no aceptar, que fue el término al menos que yo lo escuché ayer, yo le diría que España es un Estado social y democrático de derecho y que los gobernantes lo que tenemos que hacer es, aunque no se compartan las sentencias, acatarlas. Porque eso es lo que nos define en la convivencia en el conjunto de la sociedad catalana y el conjunto de la sociedad española, y sobre todo y principalmente por parte de los responsables políticos. Yo lo he dicho en muchas ocasiones y lo vuelvo a decir. Hoy en Cataluña no está en juego la independencia, está en juego la convivencia. Y tenemos que hacer todos un ejercicio de mayor responsabilidad y de menos gesticulación. Y eso pasa porque, en el caso del Gobierno de España, pues lógicamente iniciemos esa vía de diálogo que hemos empezado ya con la Generalitat de Cataluña, pero también la Generalitat de Cataluña tiene que abrir esa conversación entre los nacionalistas y los no nacionalistas. Porque, insisto, lo que está en juego en Cataluña es la convivencia, no la independencia.
The question regarding the Spanish government and how, I listened very carefully to Mr. Torra yesterday, and I am absolutely determined to continue the dialogue and negotiation with Catalonia, and we need to discuss social rulings and the infrastructures, and that is very serious. But our obligation, we need to solve this problem. It's been dominating Spanish public opinion for much too long already. I'd say that what is important is that Mr. Torra takes a debate seriously between the nationalists and the non-nationalists. He has to come to terms with that within his own autonomy. And we have to start this conversation, and unfortunately their parliament is closed until December, so that will delay things somewhat. To not accept a judicial ruling is unacceptable, because Spain is a social democratic country with depending on law and justice. So they have to accept the judicial decisions made by the Supreme Court. And we are ready to initiate the dialogue, and we are expecting them to initiate the dialogue between nationalists and no-nationalists.
Yes, my name is Ritva Rönnberg. I work for TV4 in Sweden. I have a question for both of you. I wonder, what are the chances that you think that the European Union, the colleagues that you have, will reach an agreement, a binding agreement on migration quotas in Salzburg? What are the chances?
Well, we don't know precisely the chances, but what I would say is the opinion of the Spanish government. We always believe that this is a common challenge that needs an European response, and of course a shared responsibility among all European countries. And this is the political position of the Spanish government.
Yes, we all know what the Swedish government have been pushing for, and in line with what Prime Minister Sánchez says, it is important to find the shared responsibility, because all countries have a responsibility for this. We have common borders. We need to also take the common responsibility. The final outcome of those discussions, I don't know, but we need to find a way to make sure that every country takes its share of the responsibility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.